So I saved $13,000 last year, and I didn't even do anything. I just stopped going to work. Hello, my name is Michelle, and welcome to 50 Free and Blessed, where I share my honest truth about leaving corporate America at the age of 50. My freedom, my faith, the reinvention of myself, and everything that nobody wants to tell you about. If you've been dreaming about a different life and just wondering if you could actually pull it off, you're in the right place, because I talk about all of that here. So welcome to the channel. So how did I make $13,000 and I didn't do anything? Well, first off, let's talk about retiring early. That's actually what helped me make the $13,000. Now, let me explain, because I know you're going to say, oh, so if I can retire, I can just get this money. No, what I'm just saying is that there are things that you do only because you are working. When that work is cut out, you no longer have to do those particular things. Now, I wrote down the particular things that I was doing, and I got them on my sheet. That's why I'm looking at this piece of paper. But let's talk about them, because most people think about what they're going to lose when they leave a job or are thinking about leaving a job, which the main thing is the paycheck. That's true. You're going to lose that if you are retiring early, or if you're just deciding that you don't want to work at this particular company anymore and you want to do something else. You lose that paycheck. But what are the things that you gain that you might have been spending on while you were at that job? For me, the first thing that comes in is certain time. I had to commute back and forth to work. It was 30 miles each way. I spent about an hour each way. And if there was traffic because of a traffic jam, a wreck, anything like that, it was even more time. So I saved that. That's not actually money, it is time. I understand that. But that's the first thing that I gained. The next thing that I gained was parking uptown. I worked uptown Charlotte. And if you know about Charlotte, it is crowded uptown, but you have to pay for parking. The only way you can avoid paying for parking uptown is maybe taking the train by parking somewhere else and then riding a train uptown. That's still a cost, not as much as having to park uptown specifically. Where I parked, it was $95 a month, and that's actually cheap compared to what some other people were paying. They were paying $145 all the way up. I was $95 a month. So when you look at that in a year, that's like $1,200 a year that I was spending on parking uptown. The next thing I had was dry cleaning. I worked in corporate America, and specifically at this company in uptown Charlotte, for 18 years. I wore a suit every day. So in a year, I spent in dry cleaning alone about $1,500. That may be a lot for some people. That may not be that much for other people, but that's what I was spending. The next thing was I did eat out a lot when I was uptown. There were so many places that you could eat at. I know I could have saved money by bringing my own food to work, and I did sometimes, but there were plenty of times where I just didn't want that, and there was so many opportunities around me. But I spent about $3,900 a year eating uptown. I only did it a couple of times a week, but I know I ate out a lot when I was uptown. I just didn't have the time to cook all the time when I got home. When I got home, it was well past 6:30. My husband cooked a lot. And we would eat that, and there were times where I would take something to work. But if you're like me, you don't always want to eat that the next day. Not an excuse, I'm just telling you what I did. The next thing was my car maintenance. Because of the driving back and forth, so much, and the commute on the car, I ran up mileage. Like right now, since I'm retired, I drive less than a mile. It may be like 2 miles. I don't even think it's that much, to take my son to school, to pick him up, after school, maybe take him to jujitsu each day. Nowhere near the mileage that I was doing uptown. It's just around my little city now, not hitting the highway trying to go to work. So on my car, you do oil changes every the car that I had at that time was every 5,000 miles. The car that I have now is every 10,000 miles. So it's actually improved that. But at the time when it was every 5,000 miles, that was like 3 oil changes a year. And if you don't have a warranty where some of that is covered, which I did initially, but then eventually the warranty runs out, so you're spending a couple of $100. I drive a Lexus, so oil changes are a little bit more expensive. So I put $600 for that a year. And then the gas. At the time, the average gas price was around $3.05 a gallon. Now we're averaging about $3.55. I'm in South Carolina, so it's a lot cheaper than where some of you may be. Plus, I use my Walmart Plus to get 10 cents off a gallon now. But at the time, it was like $3.05 a gallon on average. So multiply that, filling up your tank, it's about $49 a week. Multiply that, 52 weeks out of a year, and you're spending about $2,500 on gas. Yes, I still spend money on gas, nowhere near what I was doing at that time. And then my work wardrobe. Like I said, I wore a suit every day. So I did buy new clothes each year that was specific, for my job. I spent about $1,300. I still have about 400 or 500 suits when I was in corporate America. I'm probably gonna sell those now, but that's what I had. I don't have to wear that anymore, but I was spending that. And then breakfast. I was spending about $5 a day on breakfast. And that was a bigger thing for me because I could not eat breakfast at home when I woke up. I could not eat breakfast until around 9 o'clock. I just couldn't eat it before 7 or 8 when I'm getting ready. I had the time to do it, but I don't know what it is about me. I couldn't eat breakfast that early. By 9 o'clock, I was ready for breakfast. I'm now at work. So I did bring breakfast at times, but it's harder to do breakfast unless you're doing a yogurt or something. I would just go get something from one of the stores that was near me, and it was about $5 a day. So that was about $1,000 for breakfast. The final thing I had on here was I did get my hair fixed every 2 weeks. It was only $35, so I'm spending about $900 a year on that. So when you add all these things up, it comes out to about $13,000 a year. And I know some of you will look at that and say, well, I could have done that cheaper because I wouldn't have did this or I wouldn't have did that. I get it. The whole purpose of me telling you this is that think about everything that comes into play if you are thinking about taking that leap like I did. If you are thinking about early retirement, there are definitely positives aside from the fact that it's less stressful. That's something that money can't buy, being less stressed, calling your own shots, doing things on your terms. That's one side of it. Losing that paycheck, that's another side of it, which you have to have other income streams, which I do. But you need to make sure you cut out all that stuff that you're not going to have to pay for. And I know some of these things are on you guys' list. I know you may have to pay for, parking. There is wardrobe and things that you have to pay for. You got to buy gas and all of that. So think about those savings when you're looking at how much would it cost me to live if I took that leap. I'm saving this bucket of money. So now I need to make this bucket of money because I no longer have to do this, and this. It's just something that I want you to put, in your mind so that you're looking inclusive at everything that you need to take into consideration. So what are some of the things that you hadn't thought about? Would it be as expensive as you thought it would be if you wanted to take that leap, if you wanted to retire early, if you wanted to have your own job, be an entrepreneur? Hopefully it's not. Hopefully I shared some insight for you on this actual process. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you have some questions about things that I said or any of my other videos, drop a line below. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I look forward to talking to you. See you on the next video.